All right, welcome back to the Smile Spot. I'm Dr. Aimee Russo-Mounger on a mission to help everyone smile every day. And today I'm so excited about the guest that I have here. But I want to preface a little bit with saying, have you ever felt like you were meant for more, right? Where you felt like you were maybe stuck in life and you're not where you thought that you were going to be? You current circumstances are leaving you feeling a little defeated, and there's a gap between where you are and where you believe you could be. Um, and that sometimes can almost feel impossible. So today's guest knows about that gap pretty well, and we're going to talk about that. But I'm so honored to have him with us. He's a highly sought after speaker and business coach. But that seems like an unlikely outcome for him from one point in his life. And I'm going to have him tell that story. That's what's important. But he has since built five multi-million-dollar companies, has helped generate more than $2 billion in revenue, shared the stage with many icons like John Maxwell, Jamie Kern Lima, and even Ed Mylett. So, and I had to read that because it's so much. I can't even, I wouldn't have been able to remember that. It's so, so important. And I'm so excited and so blessed to have him with me. And I have to insert a little bit before I let him talk because when I asked him what has now happened in my life had not happened. So, of course, I want Justin Prince to be on my podcast and we want to talk about Make Wellness Peptides. But I, at the time, was a practicing dentist. And since then, I have now become a full time health and wellness coach and a retired dentist, which is a pivot that I didn't see coming. I didn't think was going to happen. It was a flip that happened, a pivot, and I'm a dancer. It wasn't a pretty pivot, let's say that, and it happened really fast. And so I could have taken it as a negative, and I didn't. God's given me peace about it, and I've been able to fall forward, like He always says. And we're going to talk about that. But as of March 12th, most people won't even know that when this podcast comes out. But as of March 12th, I'm a retired dentist who is going to focus solely on building my Make Wellness business and educating people on how to get healthy proactively with Make Wellness and peptides. So it's kind of exciting to me to have him here. And it just shows how God works in such mysterious ways. He had already ordered this. He already knew that I needed this. I needed to talk to Justin. And probably there's people out there that need to hear it too. So I'm excited that he'll be like pouring into my story. And I'm sure some of you, so that'll be a blessing. And somebody told me once, we're either going into a storm, we're in the storm, or we're coming out of the storm. So I'm going in or I'm in. Hopefully I'm in. And Justin's on the other side. He's out and booming. And so he's just going to be a blessing to us today for sure. But um, I do love the fact that he does say failing forward, and you love to teach others too the same thing, like how to fail forward, how failure isn't final, it's fertilizer. I love when you say that, and it's part of the process of becoming who we were born to be. Is we learn more from our failures than we do from our successes, and we can see that from you, and I love that about you. So to preface it, you're the founder of Make Wellness, the company that's pioneered bioactive precision peptides. They're all natural, clinically proven peptides that are changing the world of health and wellness. And that's why I feel so passionate about, like I say all the time, like I'm screaming it from the rooftops, because I want everybody to know about these natural peptides that can make them healthy proactively and not using reactive medicine. So I do want to mention the book. He wrote a book called Be the One, which is the title it's a best-selling book. Be the One is the title. And it's about rewriting your story, right? It's like rising above the circumstances and building something extraordinary, which is so just those words itself, like sit in my soul so well, because that's what I have to live on and kind of step into every day, I feel like now. So today's conversation, we're going to be driving into those resilience and entrepreneurship and the wellness model. And I couldn't be more thrilled to welcome Justin Prince to the
And,
Smile Spa.
and Amy, what an honor to be on with you, and thank you for that beautiful introduction. And I'm taking it all in with you of this shift or pivot in your own life. And one thing that I'll share with you, I had a friend call me. I went through a really, really, really significant shift a couple of years ago, and about 10 days into it, I had a kind of a painful, particularly painful morning. It was just I was all up in my feels and just wondering what you're going to do with the rest of your life and all that stuff. And I had a friend of mine. She's like a life coach, but she's kind of like one of those people that's kind of like a spiritual coach. I've never hired her, but we're really good friends. She's very kind of a spiritually in tune kind of person. And normally she would text me and say, "Hey, can you chat?" We'd set up a time, but she just calls me one morning. It's like 8:30 in the morning, just calls. And I pick it up. I go, "Hey, what's going on?" And she goes, "You're on my heart today." She goes, "How are you feeling?" And she just watched from social media. And I'm doing good. And what I should have said, if I was being honest, is like, I am not doing so good. I wanted to burst into tears. It was just a particularly painful morning. You're there. I could really feel the pressure and the stress and the whole thing. And she said, "I got a word for you." And I said, "What's that?" And this is the word I have for you. And my guess is for so many of you listening. And she said, "Trust the redirect." She said, "Trust that God is in the details of your life and trust that your life is being redirected for good." And
Oof.
yeah, at that moment, I got like chills on my arms, as she said it to me. It didn't take away all of my pressure and stress and anxiety and hurt and uh, just kind of the pain I was going through, but it gave me this hope saying, what if all of this is actually not happening to me? It's happening for me. And there's an old Mexican proverb said they tried to bury us, they just didn't realize we were seeds. And I just was like, man, I'm gonna come back from this. And I know your next chapter is your best chapter, and just trust the redirect that this is all happening for you and not to you.
Thank you. And I did want you to tell a little bit about your story. I didn't want to tell it for you. So, this painful section in your life that you're
Yeah.
talking about, which I feel like ours are parallel in some way, it's just, which I'm not happy about for either of us, but you're right. It's going to be our redirect, and we are the seeds, and we're going to grow. So, tell the audience a little bit about what
Yeah, I
happened.
mean, so just kind of the short backstory for me, came from a broken home at age 12. My parents, we moved 13 times in the 7 years through the teenage years. I was my mom's oldest at home. And I have no professional background, I have no college education. My very first business I started when I was 25, and I had a little baby boy, and my wife and I been married, and we had my little son was about a year and a half old, and I wanted to make this little kid proud of me, and wanted to make his wife proud of her husband, and
Mm.
I just went for it. And long story short, the business failed. And we were below zero financially, back on credit cards, back on taxes. I moved my pregnant wife and now two kids into the loft of my wife's parents' garage. I have two little babies sleeping in the closet. My wife and I are in the little loft area. And I picked up two part-time jobs and started another business. Kind of got the courage to go again. And and I thought it would take me 2 months or whatever to get full time and get into my business, this new venture, and it didn't. It took me years. It took me 2 years. And so during that time, there's many of those sleepless nights where you're kind of like, I remember laying in bed being like, "Are you awake?" My wife's like, "Yeah." She goes, "Are you awake?" I go, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Babe, am I crazy? Like, am I like chasing a fake dream? Like, is this ever going to actually happen for us?" Like, I knew success was possible for other people. I just didn't know if it's going to be possible for us.
Mm.
And long story short, we ended up building that business. I sold that business at age 30. I did private equity consulting for 2 years. And then I came in at age 32 to a company. So just to kind of paint the picture, it was a 27-year-old company. Uh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, a 25-year-old company doing marketing, doing business in 27 countries. Pardon me. And it had fallen from a $750 million a year revenue company to 250 million. So it was going the wrong direction fast over an 8-year period, and basically at the verge of death, bankruptcy. And they brought me and a little SWAT team of us, about three or four of us, in as kind of a team to see if we could transform this old company, this dying company. And I became a minority equity partner. I was a consultant originally, and then I went in and basically like led the sales force. And we created an entirely new business model. I tell people the two hardest things to do in business: one is a turnaround, two is a startup. We decided to do both at the exact same time. It's just like, just the odds of this working were not high. And long story short, we went on to do over the next 10 years, we acquired 5 million plus customers. It was a nutrition company. We had nutrition products. 5 million plus customers, over 2.5 billion in revenue, and it was a totally life-changing journey. And honestly, I thought I'd be there forever. I thought I would do forever. And the private equity group at the end of 2021 had levered up uh, hundreds of millions of dollars of debt against the company. So a way to think about it, if these terms are new to you, is like, be like taking out a second mortgage on your home, and you put all this debt into your house. Well, then if your income softens at all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, I can't make this payment. That's basically what happened. Is revenue softened a little bit in 2022 and in 2023. And so as that happened, because of the debt situation, the company was in a dire situation. And, I was the number one earner. I was the kind of the co-creator of the whole thing, traveling literally all over the
Hmm.
world. And I land at New York for fall break with my wife and kids, and I get an email. And to give you an idea, we started this business the day after my son was born. So he was 11. My little girls were 3 and 5 when we started. They were 16 and 14 when this happened. And I get an email, and I'm sitting there on the phone with a friend, and I look at my email, and it says you're terminated, and we're going to sue you. And I'm just like, what? My little girl's in the back seat, and they go, what does terminated mean? And her sister says, I think dad got fired from the company.
Fired
I thought dad was the company. Like,
the
what is
company.
happening?
I love
And
that.
it was just this completely surreal, no phone call, no heads up, just complete. And basically they look, you can imagine a private equity person looking at a line item on a spreadsheet in New York, and they have this large commission to this person saying, hey man, get rid of that person, we can save some money. And then they also tried to create a narrative for the bank that they had taken out the debt from, of why this company was failing. And they're like, we can hang it on that guy. Just go hang it on him. And anyways, very dirty business. But I ended up suing them. They sued me. We locked horns in litigation. I completely freaking crushed these guys in litigation. It was like David versus Goliath. It's this multi-billion-dollar firm versus this person. We won
Yeah.
every hearing, every motion. I just was like, I'm standing up for myself. This is so dirty. But in that process,
Mhm.
you ask yourself, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? And that's ultimately where the story of Make Wellness was born. It was born really in the fire of this pain, and clarifying that I knew I wanted to make a difference in the world, and I knew I wanted to make a difference with people that wanted to make a difference. I wanted to build a community of people that wanted to make a difference, and then ultimately I wanted to do something that made a difference. And so the platform of Make Wellness for bioactive precision peptides, the platform to create economic opportunity for people, like all of that really resonated with my heart and what I want to do with my life. And it's so interesting. I got that call to trust the redirect. And again, it's funny. I've heard Tony Robbins say things like, "Life's not happening to you; it's happening for you." And I would,
Are you?
I've even said that on stage before. But man, that is so easy to say until you're in the middle of the fire. When you're in the middle of the fire, you start wondering, like, I don't know if this one's happening for me. This one feels more to me. And I look back now, Aimee. I look back, and what from the day we launched our business, from the day we shipped our first product, we hadn't even officially launched the company. We were like, it was almost like in beta. We were shipping product, paying commission. From the very first day that we launched a product and paid a first commission to 11 months later, we did over $100 million with Make Wellness, and has become one of the fastest growing wellness companies literally ever in its first year. And I look back and I'm just like,
Amazing.
all of that, fire and pain and, all the stuff you had to go through, it kind of was just ultimately preparing you. It's like strengthening your shoulders.
Mhm.
And you know how life is. If it doesn't completely crush you, it will strengthen you. Like the weight will strengthen your shoulders. And the thing that I had to remind myself, and I would remind you of this, and again, all of you listening, I'd remind you, the bird doesn't trust the branch. The bird trusts the wings. And I remember thinking, I was like,
Mm.
I got what it takes. And just because that branch, I'm not on that branch anymore, I trust the wings to go fly again.
Yeah, that is so awesome. That's so good. It just shows too that God is in the story. For
Yes.
sure. Because it's one of the things, like, even when I tell the small piece of story that I have, because it's all happened so fast, people look at me like weird, like, how, that doesn't even make sense. I'm like, I know it doesn't. And that's why it's a God story. And that's why at the end of this story, there's going to be, besides a book, there's going to be a glory in God, because it's what it is. And I just love how you too, you're such a family guy and so faith forwarded. You lead with love. The company, I felt like, I mean, God gave me this company in my life because he knew I'm just going to need it. The people that I get to work with, the business partners, you just listening to your story, for one, when I listened to it, of course, meant something to me. And I thought, wow, this guy's got resilience. He's persistent. He is my kind of guy. Cause that's kind of me. Like, I'm like a cat, they say too, like, I'm going to land on my feet. I'm going to push forward, sometimes to a detriment. Cause I think maybe some of this old business I was keeping because I was like, this is what I am. This is what I do. And God's like, no. When I finally said, God, I surrender to you. When I said that, you got to watch what you say. And I said, I needed a blinking sign. Watch what you say.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so he's like, okay, you ready? You ready? I got this. And so close the door. and had already opened the make door already. Like I was already there. I knew I loved it. I knew I loved how you led the company. I knew how I loved what the company meant to you and to the people that started it. And then just the purpose of the peptides to begin with was, I'm very much proactive, and I wouldn't say holistic so much, but I do feel like medicine has taken a turn for the worse. And I feel like this is going to be a new change in medicine where we can turn it for the better and help more people. But so it's so cool that how God has just put you in my life. And I love that. And I love you and love your story,
Love you
and your
too.
family's adorable. Definitely. So I do want to touch on, I know we just have a little bit of time because you were so super busy, but like, why did you choose peptides? Is
Yeah.
there a story behind like
Yeah.
actual peptides, or was it just health and wellness?
No, yeah. So I spent my whole career in health and wellness, for the last 20 plus years. So I have an immense passion for health and wellness. I mean, to give you an idea,
Longevity.
yeah,
Yes.
I've worked out, like lifted weights, worked out 4 to 5 days a week for 30 years since I was 15 years old. And I share that with you just to say it's just part of what you do. I mean, it'd be
Yeah.
more weird if I didn't work out than versus did.
Yeah.
And it's just become part of your identity, part of your rhythm. Eating healthy, wellness, I just care about it. I like it. It's easy for me to talk about. It's part of my life.
Mhm.
I just, it's part of who you are.
Yeah, me too. Yep.
And so I knew that I wanted wellness to be part of my whatever business I did, because it's just something I had so much passion for, and,
Passion.
and then also a lot of experience in.
Right.
And so as we looked, literally scoured the world, no kidding, looking for really interesting, really big ideas. Because what I didn't want to do is my protein powder is better than yours, my multivitamins better than yours. It's just
Mm,
I wanted to create something. I wanted to find something. In fact, if we couldn't find something that was really the future of wellness, or something that was a really big story, a really important story to bring to the world, I honestly wasn't interested in doing it at all. It was
okay.
kind of an ultimatum a little bit for me. And so uh, I had been introduced to basically synthetic peptides. So synthetic peptides are,
Mhm.
chemical compounds made in a lab that you would inject. This was about four years or plus ago, and so that's when I first was introduced to peptides. And honestly, all I knew about peptides was the synthetics. I didn't know, there was even other
You're
options.
right.
So as we did this exhaustive search, we found these biotech labs around the world that were using artificial intelligence data platforms to identify and isolate and do human clinicals with peptides from nature.
Mm,
And one of these labs, to give you an idea, had like $130 million of venture capital money. They had this unbelievable, they were doing clinical studies on these peptides, these natural peptides, with unbelievable results, by the way, from a health perspective. And then they had like 14 views on YouTube. And I was just like, this is such a big story. This is like literally the future of wellness, where you don't have to inject them. So think about it this way:
yeah.
you could run them through the gut versus having to do direct to the bloodstream, and they were stable through the gut. And I just remember thinking, I was like, who wouldn't pick that option to do it in a stick pack or a capsule versus an injection? And who wouldn't pick a natural option versus a synthetic chemical compound? And you don't know where the compound's coming from, and just there's potential downside side effects of it. I was just like,
Right.
this is such a you know
It's a
no
no
brainer,
brainer.
you know.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about peptides, this is another thing about peptides that really got me fired up, is that peptides are, so they're short chain amino acids that are the building blocks of protein. A simple way to think about it is protein's the building block of your body, peptides are the building block of protein. So they're little messenger molecules, but they talk directly to cell receptors. So think about it this way: normal nutritional supplements that we take, and even foods, a lot of times we take it and it like kind of trickles down in your body, and it's like the Pony Express trying to get to cell receptors, versus a peptide's like a text message. It just talks directly to the one you want to talk to, just directly to that one, and it can help to regulate that cell receptor. So up, down, regulate, and basically help that cell receptor to
Hmm.
work the way it's supposed to work. And what's so cool about the natural peptides is they have what's called they basically have a natural, what's called half-life. Half-life just means how long are they active in your system. The synthetics can be active for like a week, where the natural ones are active just for the time that they're supposed to be active. So whether it's minutes or day, like 12 hours kind of thing. So they basically get in, they activate the cell receptor, and then they naturally get out. So they help your body to work and to move and to optimize the way it's supposed to, versus to like overwhelm or disrupt the system. And I just remember thinking, this is such a big story and such an important story in the future of wellness. And so we created partnerships with these biotech labs, these kind of cutting edge labs around the world, and then went with our teams and really tried to humanize peptides. Because I'll give you another example. Peptides, when you hear the names today, so pharma has named things like the semaglutides, the Ozempics, but most
Right.
peptides that you hear are
Hmm.
things like BPC 157 or GKU
Yeah.
dash C. So they're the scientific names. They're actually
Right.
the
Right.
chemical compound names.
Yep.
And I remember thinking, what if you could humanize this science? And so we did everything based on I am statements. It's like I am fit, I am lean, I am energized, I'm focused, I'm
Interesting.
restored, just to see if we could humanize this experience that you would have using and optimizing your health with these bioactive peptides. And I just remember thinking this platform. So imagine peptides are your story, they're your platform. But then because they talk to cell receptors, they can talk to different systems of your body. So whether it's your sleep or your cortisol, which would be like your stress hormone, or
Hmm.
your building muscle or burning fat or energy stores, like it could talk directly to those cell receptors. It creates a platform that I thought was, like a $10 billion a year platform. It's just a big platform for us to go, build a business on
Right.
and to share the story. So that combination, I just like, man, this is a story whose time has come, and it needed kind of the right jet fuel behind it from people going out there and sharing the story. Because if you put this on a store shelf, for example, like at a GNC or at whatever, at a Walmart or Costco or whatever, you're the 16-year-old kid with acne at GNC that's working the front desk doesn't know how to explain the story of what's going on with these,
So
and
true.
so I just knew it needed a community of people that were passionate about wellness, passionate about health, passionate about helping people to be able to kind of share that education, share that story. And that also fired me up to create an economic platform to pay the marketing dollars instead of paying them to podcasters and to Meta and to Facebook ads and to Google, et cetera. I was like, man, let's pay it to these people and see if we can create economic opportunity as well. And that combination is what created Make Wellness.
That's awesome. And I was going to ask you, like, the financial opportunity is big in Make Wellness, and it's affiliate model. And when you really look up stuff, because I was already doing, like, I started this by doing synthetic peptides, and then
Mhm.
Melanie introduced me. She's like, "Well, you need to listen to this," and I was like, "Well, that's a no brainer." Plus, I love the pairing of it. If you have to have a synthetic, it's
Yeah.
like a non-negotiable for me that I'm like, well, you have to do this with this.
Yeah.
Like, you have to pair it. Synthetic by itself is just not healthy and not sustainable, not for longevity. So the affiliate model for me as a dentist, I'm in the medical field, it just doesn't, you're like, what does that even mean? And then you start looking things up, and there's so much going to an affiliate model these days. I mean, everything you looked at, they're like, become affiliate for this, become affiliate. So it's more common now, I
Yes.
think, than what it used to be. But that's interesting because I didn't know the story of why and how why you use that model, which makes perfect sense. But, I was going to ask that question, why this model and not the store shelf model? But I see the point. You're right. Acne Kid is not going to know about what's in
Yeah.
fit and what's all the things. And it's a lot of information. Peptides are a lot of information, a lot of great information for our body and for us to be able to educate other people. So I'm excited to be able to educate
Yeah.
people
And,
for
and, and
sure.
let me also share this with you just from a very practical business perspective, like speed to market. So the traditional business model is you create marketing dollars, right? You whether it's through investment capital or even through revenue, but you create marketing dollars. It's your marketing expense. And
Yeah.
then you go pay podcasters, influencers, Meta, Google, you pay wholesalers, to get it onto retail shelves. In other words, you go pay distribution. And then you pay all that money out, hoping that an end sale is going to happen. And when the end sale happens, then money comes back to the coffers of the company. The beauty of this model is that, so in other words, marketing happens first, happens second. The beauty of this model
Mm,
is we have this passionate community of people because the value is in the education, whether it's you're running ads and trying to educate the consumer that way, or someone's telling their story, and nothing's more powerful. Nothing still today. In fact, maybe more today because we're in such a trust recession where you see stuff online. You're like, I don't even know if is that a person? Is that AI?
right. Right. Yes.
Nothing's more powerful than just human referral. Like, I love this product. You should try it. Here's why I love it. That human referral is even more valuable today than it's ever been.
Hmm.
So when that happens, what happens is the sale happens first, and then we pay the marketing expense second. So
on the
there's an
back end.
efficiency to
Yeah.
this model that's just so profound. It's one of the reasons you can create so much velocity. A Procter and Gamble would spend, $5 billion plus in marketing expense, hoping to
Wow.
make enough sales to get a return, and they've got that thing down to a science. They've done it for years. In our model, we basically make the sell first, then pay the marketing expense second. So it's a much more there's sustainable, and there's much more velocity, and I think it's much more trusted to hear from a friend of yours that says, "Listen, I love this product. Here's why. Here's the ingredients. Here's what I'm excited about with it. Here's the results I feel like I'm experiencing. And try it. I think you might like the results." I think that trusted referral from a friend is so much more valuable than it is to you see it on Instagram right now. I think people we're just in that stage where trust is so low.
Yeah, it's so true. It's such a smart thing, and you were ahead of the game, really, because I feel like this all came out kind of before this trust depletion that we've had.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
bad, but it wasn't this bad, and so thankfully, Make is already in the know and kind of still, but it's still there's so many people that don't even know about it. When I talk to people and they're like, "I don't know anything about a peptide," I'm always like, "What?"
That's
It's
that
all
that to
over
me,
my
by the way,
feeds.
that is the opportunity. That is that
The
education
opportunity.
right there, that education gap. Whoever fills
Hmm.
education gaps, whatever company it is, that's how you make
Yeah.
a ton of money, is education gaps, whether it's in tech or whether it's in,
Yeah.
financial services, or whether it's in medical devices, the education gaps. And right now
Hmm.
there's this brewing knowledge of what is a peptide? I've heard of a peptide. Do I have to inject them, whatever? When people understand that there's bioactive or natural peptides, that education gap, that is what creates the opportunity, is to close that education gap.
Yeah, that's huge. And it's so when you're passionate about it, it's really easy. It's just easy to talk to people and be like, "Hey, do you know about this?" It's fun and it's exciting. So I'm really excited for this next chapter for me because as a dentist, people don't really like us. And I always hear they go, "It's not you. I just don't like dentists." I'm like, "I am the dentist. What is the difference?" And he's like, "No, we love you. We talk dentistry." So I mean, we have a high suicide rate. We have between all the overhead and all
Hmm.
the things and the business model, which is not this business model. It is the overhead. It's the brick and mortar, the thing that weighs on you, and then the negativity that can sometimes come with this, and insurance and all the other things that can come with this. It's a heavy model. It's a heavy burden to bear. Besides the physical that it is on your body, people don't understand that in the medical field too. And I've been talking about this to a lot of people is, I don't want to blame the medicine or the medical doctors for not knowing about peptides because it's a whole different world and they've got a whole lot on their plate already. So I don't want people to go to their doctor and say, "Well, can you tell me about a peptide?" They're going to say, "I don't know what that is. That's a supplement or whatever." And I'm like, please don't discard that as being the truth. It's not. Let somebody educate you that have done the research. When I started with synthetic, I went ahead and did the certifications, learned about all the peptides, and so Make Wellness, of course, was just like, wow, if we can do all of this and get these benefits, not from an injection and not have to do it once a week, not 5 days on, 2 days off, this whole cycling because it's not, good for our body. It's needed, and as absolutely it's needed, and that's not something I would say I'm not going to do. But I would never, like I said earlier, not pair them with a make product, with a natural product that they can continue to use for longevity purposes. So I mean,
Yeah, let me
peptides are
let
so
me
good.
let
Like
me let me
this is
just
the
piggyback on that, because I think there's a way
okay.
I process it. There's three ways I process it. One, let's say that you're learning about peptides, you want the value of peptides, but you don't want to do the synthetics, you don't want to do the needles. It's just, I don't know, for whatever reason, it's just not going to work for you. Make Wellness is the ultimate option for a natural peptide. It's the
Yeah,
number one, natural bioactive peptide company on the planet. The
yeah.
second option is you're doing a synthetic, a GLP-1 or whatever the synthetic
Hmm.
peptide is, and then you'll
Right,
have these to support that. So you'd have like support
like that.
peptides to support that journey. And then the
Yes,
third option is there's people that are transitioning off of the synthetics. In other words, I did them,
mhm.
but I know I don't want to do this forever. I either from a
We
cost
can.
perspective, or from I need
Yeah,
to to your point, I need to cycle off of them,
right.
or I've received whatever results that I wanted to get, I need to get off them, or I don't want to keep doing the needles, or whatever whatever, for whatever combination of reasons. Then
Right.
you can transition into the natural peptides that don't
Yes.
have the kind of the you don't have to cycle on, cycle off. And so that,
Hmm.
whether you don't want to do them, you can do natural. Whether you're on synthetics, and you can do them
Sarah.
as a support, or if you want to
Hmm.
transition off, Make is the right home as well.
Absolutely. We're totally on the same page. That's how I say it all the time, and how I. I even did a little creation, like a little pairing creation for some of my people. And I'm like, look, this is, if you're on this, we need to do this. If you're on this, do this. So, it's just my medical brain. I'll start digging into all the what's in every product. And, so my team's all fun. They're like, can I have all that information? So of course you can. We use Melanie for some stuff, like her journalism brain and her, lead into team brain. And then sometimes we pick all the doctors' brains. Jenny Baker. We have just, I mean, there's just such great people in this
Yeah.
whole company. It's just amazing, beautiful place to be for sure. I'm excited to be there. And I know that like Make Wellness peptides, but Make Wellness for sure as a company has blessed so many people. And a lot of people are going to find themselves in crossroads. I had a patient yesterday actually who she came in for dental work to redo her mouth. She was a real estate agent, and she was like, I'm in front of people all the time. And so, I need to fix my mouth. And I was like, okay. And I said, and she started talking about being on blood pressure medicine, depression medicine, and all that because she was overweight. And so I was like, hold the phone. Like, let's talk about this. Let's back up this story. I said, so we need to start with that. And so she was teary eyed. And she said, like, I don't want to go anywhere. This is my job, talking to people. I don't want to talk to people because I don't feel good in my own
Mm,
skin. I tried the
yeah.
GLP-1s and they're not working. And I said, well, I have something for you all the way around. And I don't want to overwhelm you. I said, but look, let's fix mentally, let's fix your focus and your brain fog and your cortisol levels from the stress. And then let's use the weight loss products that we have to help you get thinner and feel better and decrease inflammation. It's like, and I could go through all the make products with her for all those things. And she, she was just like deer in the headlights. She was like, wow, this is amazing. You mean can do this for me? I'm like, yes. And then we could pair some of this with your real estate and you actually could get a little bit more income and that you'll feel even better about everything. Like we can kind of Make Wellness can just encompass so many things for so many people. It's a blessing. It will be and is a blessing for so many people, mentally, physically, and financially. It
Yeah.
can be all those things. And like I'm glad we touched on all that today too, like the financial, the peptides, all the things. Of course we did, right? And I found a little tidbit. Well, it was actually I was looking through some things and doing research and actually praying about today and like kind of what God wanted me to throw out into the world because you're such a wealth of knowledge. I mean, I could probably keep you here for like 4 hours if I could just kidnap you and just take all the information. And so many people need to hear you. We all get to hear you as Make Wellness affiliates, but the world has not totally all got to hear you just yet.
For
So
sure.
they will though after this, hopefully. And that's my job is to just try to get the word out to people about about peptides, about the business, educating on both of those things and how to make themselves healthier, like we talked about, mental, physical, and spiritual and financial, all those things. So, the proverb is that, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to him and he will make your path straight. So that just comes all the way back around to our first conversation earlier in the podcast. So, like we all have a different path and we
Yeah.
all have and I'm in the middle of it, you're at the end of it. And it's just like the peptides. You have these roads that you can take. And so it's like, which road are we going to choose? There's not really any wrong road, as long as we let God lead, I feel like we're on the right path. Unless we fight him, which sometimes I did that before. I feel like that might have been the problem. But I'm so excited just to see like what else you have in your up your sleeve
Yeah.
with Make, because I'm sure this is not the
This
first
is just
seven
the
products are
beginning.
not it, right?
This is
This
just
is just the
what
beginning.
we're going to do with this company, and we have created a movement,
Yeah.
around the United States, and that will ultimately become a global movement. But this is just the start. We're next week. At the time of this recording, next week will be our event where we celebrate our 1 year anniversary, and so this is just the start of where it's all going.
Yes, yes, this is just a 1 year anniversary. It sounds like it's been around forever. It's done 11 million in the first 11 months, right? Am
No,
I right? 100
100
million.
million.
100
Yeah, 100
million in
million.
11 months. I
Yep.
got to get those numbers right. They're so big. It's hard to fathom. So congratulations. You are making waves that are just huge. You're parting waters, parting seas, like and holding up all our arms like they did for Moses, because we all need the underflow to the eagle, the eagle wings that are holding us up. So we really appreciate all that you do for Make Wellness, all you do for just the health wellness business in general, and all of us as affiliates, and I'll speak for everybody to say that we love where you lead from and that you lead from love and you help us all so much by giving us so much encouragement And hopefully we can encourage you in some point and help you in some way too, any way we can. And thank you for being on this podcast. I'm so excited that you were
Such
here.
an honor. And, there's an old saying that says evil prevails when good men and women do nothing. And man, I feel like you are just a force for good in the world. You're a bright light. You have high vibe, high levels of kindness, high levels of professionalism, but just really a high energy, like a high vibe. You have and you can feel it through your message, just who you are. Obviously, people that listen to you know what I'm talking about. But just to really
Oh,
appreciate you, and it's such an honor to be on with you, and such an honor to be partnered with you as well.
thank you so much. You're amazing. Have a blessed day. Uh, Love on all your sweet family.
Will
And
do.
I
Thank you for
can't
having
wait
me
to get
on.
back. Yes, we'll get you back whenever my stories flip to your side of the story. And I'm sure
Okay,
Make will
do it.
also
Let's
have.
go right. I'm all about writing a comeback story.
I like it. All right. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys.